It's one thing to disagree with someone's views, but it's another thing entirely to accuse them of wanting to commit violence
Yeah.
or to incite violence against them.
So how do we draw the line between free speech and hate speech?
That's a question that societies have been grappling with for centuries,
Right.
and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to consider the intent behind the speech
Okay.
and the potential consequences of that speech.
So if someone is intentionally inciting violence or hatred against a particular group of people,
Yeah.
that should be condemned and potentially even punished.
Yes. But we also need to be careful not to stifle legitimate debate.
Right.
Or to silence dissenting voices.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
It is. And it's a line that we need to be constantly negotiating as a society.
Okay, so we've talked about the dangers of generalizations,
Yeah.
the importance of critical thinking, the role of empathy,
Mm-hmm.
the line between free speech and hate speech,
Right.
and the need to find common ground.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we haven't really addressed yet,
Right.
and that's the whole BlueAnon label itself.
Right. That's an interesting one. And it's worth exploring why this particular term
Yeah.
has gained so much traction.
I mean, it's clearly meant to be a play on QAnon, right?
Right.
But is it really an accurate comparison?
Well, there are definitely some similarities.
Okay.
Both QAnon and BlueAnon are based on conspiratorial thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Both rely on fear and outrage to spread their messages.
Yeah.
And both have the potential to incite violence.
But they're also very different, right? Like QAnon is much more centralized and organized with a clear leader and a specific set of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas BlueAnon seems to be more of a loose collection of ideas and grievances.
You're right, and I think that's an important distinction.
Okay.
BlueAnon is not a monolithic entity like QAnon.
Oh.
It's more of a nebulous phenomenon,
Sure.
a reflection of the anxieties and frustrations of a particular segment of the population.
So it's less about a specific ideology or a set of beliefs.
Yeah.
And more about a general sense of distrust and resentment towards the media and the so-called elites.
Exactly. And I think that's why it's so difficult to define
Okay.
and to combat.
Yeah.
It's not a clear enemy that you can point to and say, this is what we need to fight against.
Right.
It's more like a pervasive atmosphere of suspicion and fear.
So how do you fight against an atmosphere?
That's a great question. And I think it starts with addressing the underlying issues that are fueling this sense of distrust and resentment.
Like what?
Things like economic inequality, political polarization, the decline of traditional institutions, and the rise of social media.
So it's not just about debunking individual conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
It's about addressing the systemic problems
Right.
that are making people susceptible to those theories in the first place.
Exactly. It's about creating a more just equitable and inclusive society
Okay.
where people feel heard and represented.
That's a tall order,
It is.
but it's a worthy goal.
Absolutely. And I think it's a goal that we should all be striving for.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We've talked about the dangers of generalizations,
Yeah.
the importance of critical thinking,
Mm-hmm.
the role of empathy,
Right.
the nature of BlueAnon,
Yeah.
and the need to address the underlying issues that are fueling this sense of distrust and resentment.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing I'm still struggling with,
Okay.
and that's this.
Yeah.
Why are conspiracy theories so appealing to some people?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about these narratives that draws people in?
That's a great question. And I think there are a number of factors at play.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, conspiracy theories often offer simple explanations for complex problems.
Yeah.
It's easier to believe that there's a secret cabal of evil geniuses controlling the world
Right.
than it is to grapple with the messy realities of politics and economics.
And conspiracy theories often appeal to our desire for certainty and control.
Exactly.
In a world that feels increasingly chaotic and unpredictable, these narratives offer a sense of order and meaning.
Right. They tell us that there's a plan, that someone is in charge,
Right.
and that things are not as random or senseless as they may seem.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the more outlandish claims?
Yeah.
Like the idea that Trump can control the weather, or that vaccines are implanted with microchips.
Right.
How do people believe that stuff?
Well, I think it's important to remember that people who believe in conspiracy theories are not necessarily stupid or gullible.
Okay.
They're often just people who are trying to make sense of the world, who are looking for answers,
Right.
and who are drawn to narratives that resonate with their existing beliefs and experiences.
So it's not about logic or evidence, it's about emotion and personal connection.
Exactly. And conspiracy theories often tap into deep-seated fears and anxieties.
Okay.
They play on our fears of the unknown, of the other, of being controlled or manipulated.
Okay.
And they offer a sense of belonging and community, like a group of like-minded individuals who share your beliefs and who can support you when the world feels like it's falling apart.
So it's like a support group for people who feel like they've been left behind or forgotten by society.
In a way, yes. And I think that's why it's so important to address the underlying social and economic conditions that are creating this sense of alienation and despair.
Because if people feel like they have a stake in society,
Yeah.
if they feel like they have a voice and that their concerns are being heard, they're less likely to be drawn to these fringe narratives.
Exactly. And I think that's the key to combating conspiracy theories in the long run.
Okay.
It's about creating a more just equitable and inclusive society where everyone feels like they belong.
So how do we reach the people who are already deeply entrenched in these beliefs? How do we get them to see the world differently?
That's a tough question, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with listening to them, with trying to understand where their beliefs are coming from, and with engaging in respectful dialogue, even when it's difficult.
So it's about building bridges rather than walls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that we all have biases, that we all make mistakes, and that we all have the capacity to learn and grow.
Okay, I like that. It's a message of hope and possibility. But let's be real, it's not always easy to have these conversations, especially when they involve sensitive or controversial topics. Like this video claims that conservatives are anti-science and don't believe in evolution. How do you even begin to address that?
Well, I think it's important to start by acknowledging that science is not a belief system. It's a process of inquiry, a way of understanding the world based on observation, experimentation, and evidence.
So it's not about faith or dogma. It's about facts and data.
Exactly. And I think it's important to emphasize that science is constantly evolving. That new discoveries are being made all the time. And that what we know today may be different from what we know tomorrow.
So it's not about being right or wrong. It's about being open to new information. And being willing to change our minds when presented with evidence that contradicts our existing beliefs.
And I think that's a message that resonates with people across the political spectrum.
Okay, so maybe instead of trying to convince people that they're wrong, we should be focusing on helping them understand the scientific process and how to evaluate evidence.
I think that's a great approach. And I think it's also important to emphasize that science is not just about cold, hard facts. It's also about wonder, curiosity, and the joy of discovery.
So it's about sparking people's imagination and getting them excited about learning new things.
Exactly. And I think that's a message that can appeal to people of all ages and backgrounds.
Okay, I like that. It's about making science fun and accessible. Rather than intimidating or elitist. But let's get back to the specific claims in this video. Like, they claim that conservatives believe that vaccines cause autism.
That's a persistent one.
I mean, that's been debunked time and time again.
It has. And I think it's important to address this claim head on. Vaccines are one of the greatest public health achievements in human history. They've saved millions of lives and prevented countless cases of debilitating diseases.
But there's still a lot of fear and misinformation out there about vaccines, isn't there?
There is. And I think it's important to acknowledge those fears and to address them with empathy and compassion.
So instead of just dismissing people who are hesitant about vaccines as anti-science or ignorant, we need to try to understand their concerns and to provide them with accurate information.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to emphasize that vaccines are not just about protecting individuals. They're about protecting our communities.
It's about herd immunity, right?
Exactly. When enough people are vaccinated, it creates a barrier that protects those who are unable to be vaccinated.
It's like infants or people with compromised immune systems.
So it's not just about personal choice, it's about social responsibility.
Exactly. And I think that's a message that resonates with a lot of people.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of science, the safety and efficacy of vaccines, and the concept of herd immunity. But there's one more claim I want to address before we wrap up, and that's this idea that conservatives want to ban abortion completely.
And this is a very complex and sensitive issue.
It is.
One that people feel very strongly about on both sides.
And it's an issue that's been highly politicized, hasn't it?
It has, and I think it's important to acknowledge that there are a wide range of views on this issue, even within the conservative movement.
So it's not as simple as saying that all conservatives are anti-abortion.
Exactly. And I think it's important to avoid generalizations and to recognize that people's views on this issue are often shaped by their religious beliefs,
their personal experiences, and their moral convictions.
So it's not about being right or wrong. It's about respecting different viewpoints.
Exactly.
And trying to find common ground.
And I think it's also important to recognize that this is an issue. Host speaker. It's about listening to women's stories and experiences and respecting their right to make decisions about their own bodies.
Absolutely. And I think that's a message that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the dangers of generalizations, the importance of critical thinking, the role of empathy, the nature of BlueAnon, the importance of science, the safety and efficacy of vaccines, and the complexity of the abortion issue. But I'm still left with this question. What do we do about it? How do we combat this wave of misinformation and conspiracy theories that's threatening to tear our society apart?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think there are a number of things we can do.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, we need to be more critical of the information we consume. We need to learn how to identify fake news, to fact-check claims, and to be wary of sources that have a clear agenda.
So it's about being savvy consumers of information.
Exactly.
And not just believing everything we read or hear.
Right. And it's about supporting reputable news organizations and journalists who are committed to accuracy and fairness.
Okay. So that's one thing we can do. What else?
Well, we can also work to create a more inclusive and equitable society where everyone feels like they belong. When people feel like they have a stake in society, they're less likely to be drawn to these fringe narratives.
So it's about addressing the root causes of this discontent. And creating a society where everyone feels valued and respected.
Exactly. And it's about promoting dialogue and understanding across ideological divides.
So it's about talking to each other even when it's difficult.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that we all have biases, that we all make mistakes. And that we all have the capacity to learn and grow.
Okay, I like that it's a message of hope and possibility, but I'm still feeling a little overwhelmed. It feels like we're facing an uphill battle against this tide of misinformation and division.
I understand. It can feel that way sometimes. But I think it's important to remember that we're not alone in this fight. There are millions of people around the world who are working to promote truth, justice, and understanding.
So it's about finding those people, connecting with them, and working together to create a better world.
Exactly. And I think that's where our hope lies.
It really is about collective action and realizing that we each have a role to play in combating misinformation.
Absolutely.
It's like tending a garden. You can't just pull out one weed and expect the problem to go away. You have to address the soil, the sunlight, the whole ecosystem to really cultivate a healthy environment.
I love that analogy.
So we're all gardeners in a way. Tending to the information landscape.
That's a great way to think about it.
And speaking of tending this video, we've been discussing claims that conservatives believe the COVID vaccine was rushed for political gain and is actually dangerous.
Yeah, the vaccine debate. This one really highlights how conspiracy theories prey on people's anxieties, especially when it comes to health and well-being.
It's like they're taking something that's already complex and scary, a new virus, a new vaccine, and twisting it into this narrative of hidden agendas and sinister plots. It's no wonder people get confused and scared.
Absolutely. And it's important to acknowledge that skepticism about new medical treatments is not inherently bad. In fact, healthy skepticism can lead to important questions and better understanding. But when skepticism morphs into unfounded fear and rejection of scientific consensus, that's when we start to see real harm.
So how do we help people navigate this complex landscape and make informed decisions about their health? Especially when there's so much conflicting information out there.
I think it starts with education. We need to do a better job of explaining how the scientific process works, how vaccines are developed and tested, and how to evaluate the credibility of different sources.
So instead of just telling people what to think, we need to teach them how to think critically and evaluate information for themselves.
Exactly. Empowering people with the tools to discern fact from fiction is crucial.
Okay.
And it's not just about science, it's about media literacy.
Okay.
About understanding how information is produced, disseminated, and often manipulated in today's digital age.
It's like we all need to become detectives in a way.
Yeah.
Learning to spot the clues and separate the real leads from the red herrings.
Exactly.